Audio is on.
Oh, I'm not even close to ready for that yet. I guess we're doing it. So everybody is seeing just the Axe Media Group logo, aren't they? Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, here is a song for you. Anyways, good morning. Coming to you live on Axe Media Group headquarters here in the beautiful Springfield, Missouri, a.k.a. Icetown. That means two things. It's the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay with your hosts, Matt and Jay. No Steve-O Mickey Mac today, although he will be watching and commenting and all that good stuff like he is wont to do. It is really cold outside. It's supposed to be icy for a little while today.
I wonder if Freeway will be canceled tonight.
I don't think it is. At this moment, it is not.
Because it's supposed to get pretty cold this evening, right?
Aaron Ipock, who has been on the show before, is preaching tonight.
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
5 p.m., 34
You know,
rainy.
a black shirt underneath the coat is actually not a bad look.
Looks pretty good, yeah. I'm just saying.
It's slimming.
Nice.
I mean, you can see this is an executive cut.
Quite the handsome fellow you are.
It's a little tight now. I think I put on a couple pounds since I got this.
What?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
It fluctuates. Steve says, wow, I'm here now. Be careful out there, Steve McAllister says. Larry Milton joined us. Steve Schultz joined us. Lots of rain later. That's what Steve McAllister says. But right now it's so cold and the wind is blowing. And it's going to freeze before we get out of here. Now it may...
And the wind is blowing.
The wind is blowing.
Do.
What are you doing over there, Jay?
I am trying to find the show because I can't find it. No notifications.
Do you have your notifications turned on?
Yeah.
You could always go to Facebook. You could always go to Facebook.
Huh.
I shared the show.
Did you? Oh, well, wait. There's notifications.
Steve says, you're early. What's up? It's 8:05, Steve. Have we been on the air for 5 minutes already?
Nope, that still ain't the notifications, man.
All right,
It's time for commercial.
It
You
is
ready?
time for commercial. Today's show is brought to you by... Hold on a minute.
Everybody.
That's not a brand name. AxeMediaGroup.com. Boom. Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. Glad you can make it to the show today. Although you guys probably aren't having to drive right now. And if you're watching this while driving, it's pretty dangerous. So you might set the phone down and just listen to the audio. And we'll try not to make you laugh so hard that you swerve off the road. Because it's the morning drive, not the morning crash. So today's show is brought to you by NaturalSolutionsStore.bz.
There you are, sir. Good
You
morning,
know,
Marcia.
I do what I can. Good morning, Marcia.
Oh, I thought you said it was Axe
Hold
Media
in.
brought to us by.
Axe Media brought to us by Natural
You
Solutions.
doing a double commercial?
No. I'm just
All right.
NaturalSolutionsStore.bz.
Okay.
And
You're on there.
And I've been calling it Natural Solutions.
It's your
Store.
mug.
Is it? I don't have a mug over here.
Your mug is up there.
All right, so Bitcoin is accepted on this website, but it also will take your credit card as well. It's very safe. Good to go. Today's product, I'm going to talk about a CBD capsules. You ever heard of CBD, Jay?
I have heard of CBD.
You know why? Because it's a buzzword in the health community right now.
Is it?
Yes, and it always, I mean, since it's came out, it's been that way. It supports muscles, supports joints, which still cracks me up every time when I read that. Reduces inflammation, promotes bone growth, relieves anxiety, reduces blood sugar levels, and it's antibacterial, and it slows bacterial growth. I didn't know that, but that's good to know. Now, these come in 10, 25, and 50 milligram doses. That way you can find the dose that works best for you. Now, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, and this is not intended to be used by pregnant women or women who are lactating. And always consult your physician before changing your diet or using a new food. Go online, www.naturalsolutionstore.bz, and pick up a bottle of CBD capsules today. Back to you guys.
Is that the active ingredient in Super Hemp Balm? Are you sure of it, or?
Okay, so Super Hemp Balm has hemp oil, CBD oil, clove oil.
Does it have any THC?
Peppermint oil. I mean, everything that has anything to do with the marijuana plant, the cannabis plant, is going to have a tiny, tiny amount of THC in it.
So it will fail a drug test?
No, well, that's relative, because each company has a certain number of parts per million that are allowed. Like, there's a point system. Like, let's say...
that doesn't help people whose limits are set at 0.
No, it doesn't.
So there's something about these laws that need to change.
Yeah.
People need not be concerned about that. I think they need to be concerned about THC in their system. Yeah, there's people like myself who don't want any, really.
I know, but it's such a minute amount that it may as well be 0.
Right, and then there's my experience with the Super Hemp Balm that, is purely good. It didn't get me high, didn't do anything like that. All it did was relieve the pain in the local area where I applied it.
I have talked to a doctor before in regards to what will fail a drug test. And he said, and this was for a work-related injury.
Right.
And I said, well, because I had been around people that were smoking weed. Mm-hmm. And I was worried that was going to make me fail, so I was honest with the doctor about it. Mm-hmm. And he said, sorry, this is really, I got to switch holsters. It's just, I don't know. He said that if you never smoke weed, like if the last time you smoked weed was like 8 years ago, said you could, theoretically speaking, depending on your what do you call that, metabolism, you could smoke like a half a joint to a whole joint the night before and still pass the drug test.
Oh.
It's all about how your body processes it. Of course, each person's body chemistry is different. So, and I'm pretty sure that THC is stored within fat cells.
Right.
And other stuff. So, like, it would hold in my system longer. Now, if they do a hair follicle test and you don't get it off the hair of your head, like let's say, and I had this experience where I had quit doing meth, and then I applied for a job somewhere about 6 or 8 months later, and I shaved my head. And at the time, I didn't have a goatee or anything like that. So they had to take the hair off of my chest. Well, it stays in the hair, like in your body hair, not the hair on your head, because it grows faster. Like on your chest and on your legs and stuff, it could stay in that up to 2 years.
Wow.
So they do a test and see if there's any in it, and there was. This showed methamphetamines in my hair follicle. Now, if they would have taken it from a hair on my head, which I didn't have a long enough one or enough to do that, it wouldn't have showed up.
Right.
But then they have this option. Okay, so if you fail it, if it shows that you have that in your hair follicle, you can pay $200 and have it analyzed so they can tell exactly when the last time you used it was. It's like a timeline, like similar to the rings on a tree.
Right.
You can tell what happened when,
Right.
judging by the growth of the tree, where the ring is at.
Yeah.
So, but the guy never called me back, which it actually ended up working out really well because that job would have been really bad for me.
That's how you got where you are today.
Yeah. Yep, indeed. So Becky Code, morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Joe Katie says, morning, y'all.
Morning, Joe. Happy birthday yesterday.
A veto day, says.
A veto day.
Maybe a VTO day. VTO. You're going to have to tell us what that acronym means. Good morning, Susan Burrows. Marsha Holland. Larry Melton says, I smoked weed one time, and I thought my arms were going to fall off. Yeah, see, it affects different people in different ways.
Whoa. Yeah.
Somebody might have laced that with something. Larry Melton.
Yeah, that seems like that would have to be something that was laced. That's
He said he never smoked it again.
That's more hallucinogenic than normally weed is. I mean, I don't know how much you smoke.
Now, I've smoked a joint one time when I was younger, and on my way home, my hand started melting into the steering wheel, it seemed. And stuff flipped like in reverse, almost like you're looking through a mirror and then back again.
From weed.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
This one it was like 2 days ago. No, I'm just kidding. It was like I was 16.
Oh my.
I was 16.
16?
17. I was freaking out.
So almost like yesterday.
Oh, yeah, almost. Actually, yeah, I'll be 40 here in July.
Whoa.
Huh?
It's like the time just keeps going by. You just keep having birthdays, Matt.
I know. What's with this? What's with those birthdays?
I know, right?
It's right there with to say what's with these birthdays and plain food. Man, the prices are sky high. Get it? Plain food?
Yeah,
Prices,
yeah.
prices. I just made that up. I'm proud of myself for that.
I'm proud of you, too. That was amazing. That's an amazing joke.
So, voluntary time off and thanks. VTO, voluntary time off and thanks.
I volunteer for time off.
I volunteer for time off too.
Paid?
Yeah, why not? Hey, if I'm
All
dishing
right.
out
I'll take it.
time off, you drive a hard bargain. I'll take it. Sold American. So, I apologize. I don't really apologize because I do have my pistol out because the holster I happen to be using today, it actually is making my lower back hurt. So I'm leaving it right there because it's digging into my back and I can't lean back in my seat very easily. So anyways, what is up, Jay? It's cold out there.
Moving tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I am an old man, Steve.
I put the down on it, and I can cancel it anytime. As long as I don't pick it up, I can cancel it.
Jeremiah, you man.
But
yeah, the weather's going to be pretty bad.
yeah, if not this weekend, then when, though?
Well, I'm off next weekend, too. So
Yeah. I really need to get it done, though. I just hope it's not icy tomorrow.
Steve says, I'm going to stay in and carve. He's going to carve wood.
Hey, Steve.
He's going to whittle. He's going to whittle his life away.
He's whittling his life away.
I'm full of it today, folks. Which isn't different from any other day, really.
Yeah.
Put it in your coat pocket. Now, this coat really doesn't have any pockets. I mean, it does, but they're fake pockets. They're pretend pockets.
Or they're just sewn shut, aren't they? I don't think they're fake. I think they're just stitched shut. They didn't ask you when you got it, do you want us to open the pockets?
No, those are completely sewed shut. Yeah, they're completely. Those aren't meant to be unsewn.
Oh.
Now, the internal pockets, I had to break the little threads that was holding them closed.
Oh.
This pocket here was the same way. I mean, I should get a shoulder holster for this thing. Like, to go under the shoulder.
Right.
I know it's weird. Just got a gun just sitting there on the desk. But I tell you why. First of all, I exercise my right to bear arms, to keep and bear arms.
Uh-huh.
Because it shall not be infringed upon. Good morning, Stephanie Brown, if you're watching. Good morning, Jeremiah Umans. I don't know that it'll fit in me inside.
What do you think about? Have you heard about what's going on in Virginia? Being somebody who has the right to bear arms and practices it.
Dragging it down a little bit.
Do you ever have you looked into that? Do you know what's going on there?
You know, the problem with it is, and I can't trust I can't trust any media source.
I know, right?
My trust in media is kaput. So let's see what this says. What's going? Oh, it already autofilled it. I said, what's going? And then it said, on in Virginia.
You know, I would put, at the end of that, I would put legislation.
And, of course, the first three that pop up is NBC News, Washington Post, and the New York Times.
Yeah, so they're all...
They're all...
they're talking about all the gun-toting, lawless, Wild West gunfighters who need to be...
well, if you guys remember correctly, the Civil War started in Virginia.
Who need to go to jail because they're tired of them just walking around with guns on their hips shooting up the place.
Yeah, Virginia declares emergency as tensions escalate over gun rights rally. This news source is actually ABC News or NBC.
Oh, they're trustworthy.
Yeah.
I think that's just the problem with media. I mean, once you say
organizers,
we're for gun control, you can't be trusted about what you're reporting.
Right.
Who out there is just saying this is what's going on? This is the law. So you got to go to the legislature.
See, now it just says, fearing a repeat of the deadly march by white nationalists.
Who is this?
This is NBC News.
Oh, my.
In Charlottesville in 2017, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam on Wednesday declared a state of emergency and temporarily banned people from carrying guns and other weapons on the grounds of the state capitol. I didn't know you were allowed to carry guns on government property anyways.
Well, allowed is the key. That right there is an infringement on the Second Amendment.
It is. Where thousands of gun rights activists are expected to rally next week against stricter gun control laws. Northam said he made a call after hearing credible intelligence from law enforcement that armed militias and hate groups, some from outside of Virginia, plan to disrupt the event. He said the threats of violence picked up on the internet and on the dark web channels by state intelligence analysts. Included conversations fueled by misinformation and conspiracy theories similar to talk that preceded the Unite the Right march in August of 2017. I didn't even hear about that march. Did you?
Which one?
The Unite the Right march in August 2017, at which
of course we didn't hear
white
about
nationalists clashed with counter-protesters, one of whom was killed when a man drove into the crowd.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I remember that. I remember seeing that. They're not coming to peacefully protest. They are coming to cause intimidation and cause harm, a Democrat said at a news conference.
Well, oh, man, I got to get a tissue.
If you have an issue, get a tissue. So this is some scary stuff, really. I think it's going to escalate and continue to escalate. Because it says the event on Monday called Lobby Day is part of an annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day tradition, which citizen activists, including those on both sides of the gun debate, converge on the Capitol to press issues directly to lawmakers. The rallies have usually been peaceful and orderly, but
he said to judge a man by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. You know, not their creed, you know, or color or whatever.
Yeah.
And judging the media by the content of their character. I mean, just look at the few statements you made. They're talking about white nationalists. So now anybody you see there at that march is a white nationalist. Is that true? Absolutely not. It's not true. So what's the content of their character in that statement?
Right.
They're liars. They want us to assume something about somebody before we actually know their character.
Larry Mountain says, I got 4 rounds off at a coyote about an hour ago.
Right. How's the coyote doing?
Probably pretty bad. Larry Mountain says, I have bare arms. I don't have any short arms or short guns. I have long guns. So he has rifles. Are we off work Monday on Milk Day? Oh, that's not milk. That's Martin Luther MLK Day. I'm sorry for those of you watching. I did not mean to disrespect Martin Luther King Day. I glanced at it. It looked like it said Milk Day.
Yeah, I mean, so what are they doing though? They're what is the name of the march? What is the name
Morning,
of it?
Stephanie Brown.
What is the event actually called?
According to the news source that I am quoting, let me find it.
When you said what's going on in Virginia,
Yeah.
it was an event.
Yeah.
What's
They're
the-
worried about the
No, we need
the
the
annual protest of the, let's see here. Unite the Right, okay, preceded the Unite the Right march in 2017, which was white nationalist. Clash with
Wait a minute,
counter-
Unite the Right.
That was in 2017, and it was a gun rally, protesting against the attempt at controlling firearms.
No,
Okay, I'm reading. I have to reread it because I closed it out and then came back.
Oh.
The event on Monday is called Lobby Day. It is part of an annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day tradition in which citizen activists, including those on both sides of the gun debate, converge on the Capitol to press issues directly to lawmakers.
okay.
Now, the rallies have usually been peaceful and orderly, but in November's elections, in which Democrats took control of both chambers of the State House after campaigning on gun control, has changed the dynamic of this year's event. Looming confrontation has put Virginia, whose government is under the majority Democratic rule for the first time in a quarter century, at the center of the national gun debate, with both sides portraying the state as a harbinger of where the rest of the country might be heading. I believe, okay, first of all, you can't trust really any, so read more than one news source. I just wanted to get some basic ideas about what's going on there.
But wait a minute. Now that's not as inflammatory. What you read initially, the first thing you read was
Yeah.
all inflammatory.
Yeah, that was the headlines. That was the main.
You just read the headlines.
Yes.
So they're all inflammatory. Okay, but what this event is where the people, let's not say which side is which, the people go to the Capitol, the state Capitol, to debate legislation, to press their legislators on legislation that they want. It's not specific to gun or anything.
Right.
Those are likely things to be brought up.
Right.
So that's the problem. They're already telling us what the topics are that we're going to bring to the state
Right. And
to press them on legislation.
Right. And they're assuming it's going to be violent just because they're.
It's going to be violent because they're pressing it's going to be about this.
Yeah.
They're saying it's going to be about this. It's not about that. If you're in Virginia, this is the time for you to go to the state legislator and press them on any legislation that you think might change your environment to make it better for the public, to make it better for the people.
All right. So I just typed in.
Has nothing to do with guns or anything.
This is WTOP. Frequently asked questions. What is happening in gun legislation in Virginia?
Right.
Democrats are set to take over both Virginia Senate and the House of Delegates. This historic shift is likely to result in another shift in the state's gun control policy. It gives the Commonwealth's Democratic governor an opportunity to do what he couldn't over the summer, pass tighter legislation. It was months ago that Governor Ralph Northam, a Democratic governor in Virginia, called a special session following the May 31st mass shooting in Virginia Beach. Republicans abruptly adjourned that July session, preempting a vote on Northam's proposed package of 8 gun control measures, and I think we're going to hopefully go over these eventually. Now, 8 gun control measures. The then Republican majority dismissed the session as politically motivated, which it would seem as though it is.
Obviously.
Now, with the 2019 election, or having taken legislative control away from the GOP, the stage is set for a massive policy shift in the state that the National Rifle Association calls home. So there you go. That's that little tidbit of information. Anticipating this, gun rights proponents have launched their own effort in the form of Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. And I think that's also...
So the 8 things they were trying to pass, the Democratic government was trying to pass, were all gun control measures.
Yes.
And the Republicans closed the session so that it couldn't be voted on. So none of those things passed?
I'm actually going... there's a question here that says, how strict are Virginia gun laws currently? And then...
what's the date of this article? Or of this?
It doesn't say. January 3rd.
Okay.
So not that long ago. Okay, so these are the current gun laws before they take effect, apparently. According to Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, which advocates for the tighter gun safety regulation, Virginia laws get a grade of D. Contrast that to the A grades the NRA has given to Virginia's Republican legislators, many of whom are gun rights opponents these past few years. Current Virginia gun laws, per the NRA, do not require a permit to purchase rifles, shotguns, or handguns, which we have that now. You have to do a background check, but you don't have to carry a permit. We used to years ago.
I don't agree with the background checks either, because they're not specific about what the criteria for denying a person's right to bear an arm.
Well, I think you can call now and find out why. They have a number you can call if you have any questions.
Right, but I mean, it's not specific before you even apply.
Right. They do not require firearm registration, do not require licensing, and do not require a permit to carry a rifle or a shotgun.
They should also divulge how and where they get the information that they do the background check on you with, so that you can do your own background check on yourself. Because then you can find out if there's anything in there beforehand that's not actually you,
or
that is a mistake, or that has changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like a credit report where you can
Morning,
see
Sissy
what's
Brooks.
currently being reported, and then you can say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't me, this isn't me, this has changed, this has changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we got something going between Jeremiah Humans and Larry Melton here. Jeremiah mentions that he has a sawed-off shotgun, but I don't think he actually has a, because you can buy a shotgun now that you would call a sawed-off shotgun, though it's not actually sawed off. It's an 18.5 or a 19-inch barrel. It's just long enough to not be considered a sawed-off shotgun. It says that, and he said it will do the job to defend my family. Larry Melton says, "Milk Day?" ? Okay. And he says, Jeremiah, I don't tell people that. Sawed-off guns are against the law. Actually, if you saw them off yourself, they are. Steve, Jonathan Kretzman joined.
Yeah, are we? I don't get it. I don't have any comments about any of that.
I've got them. Are you watching our YouTube video or the Facebook?
I think I'm watching Facebook.
Larry Melton says that's what you call lobbyists. When in regards to what I was saying, a gun is only a tool. Jeremiah says, I agree with that. It's a tool to defend us from a tyrannical government and from invaders of our home. Anyways, so the Giffords Center points out that the laws also do not regulate the transfer or possession of 50 caliber rifles or large capacity ammunition magazines, which I don't think they should have a right to tell us how many bullets we can carry in our gun.
So their rights now, right now, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
What about
Do
concealed
not require
carry and open
background
carry?
check before transferring a firearm between unlicensed people.
Do not require that.
Okay. Do not impose a waiting period before the sale of a firearm. Do not require owners to report lost or stolen guns. Although if you lose or
That I think should be a requirement.
yeah, I mean, any person in their right mind, if they have a gun stolen, will report it.
Well, I guess I see the complication there.
We
is
had a
if
friend
you
that
don't
just
have
had his
the
stolen
information-
yesterday.
Right, and so if somebody's stealing your stuff, what if they steal your file cabinet too? And so where do you keep your serial numbers? How do you
Yeah,
know what you have?
That's an
and
issue that we're having
That's
now.
that could be. I understand why that would be a no. I get it.
Among the restrictions that do exist, concealed carry is allowed but requires a court-issued permit. In addition, dealers must contact state police, which conducts a background check before a sale. State police are also required to be at gun shows to conduct background checks at the request of parties.
See, that
to
is where the part I
transaction.
don't agree with. Background checks. Okay, so background checks should not be vague like that.
Hey, Marty.
When they say background checks are required, checking your background through what source? I mean, the political party in power could say, well, we do that through the political registration. If you're registered as a Democrat or Republican, I mean, they can decide whatever background they're looking for to
Right.
eliminate you.
Right, and where we have no way to look at that, so they could just deny it just because,
Right.
and
That
have no real
source
reason.
of information that they use to check your background should be an open source to anybody, so that you can check your own background and see the same information that they will get verbatim. And then you can go like a credit report and say, well, this isn't me, this isn't me, this has changed, this has changed. You can appeal to that check and have those things changed and made appropriate and correct, and then you can apply for your gun. That's what I'm saying is that there's no limit on that.
Yeah.
If I'm a Democrat and I want to get rid of all guns, period, I can say, well, background checks, we just check if you're a Republican or a Democrat. That's your background, right?
Well, yeah. It says, and there are some. I just want to make sure that we get to the laws that he proposed.
And then you can't even challenge it because
No.
it's not specific about what they're checking for.
And some places, I don't know if it's a federal thing, but when a friend of mine was denied because he had a hard time seeing the box, like what the words say, because he
Checked
didn't
the
have his
wrong
glasses.
box. He
He checked the wrong box, and he was not able. He wanted to reapply, and the particular place, which I'm not going to mention, said you have to wait 30 days before you can reapply for one here.
30 days is okay though, because then there's at least a time period where, and here's another thing: does your application become part of your background check? Do your former applications become part of your background check? What information? I just don't like that. That's not right.
It says, and there are some restrictions on assault firearms, which the law defines as being designed to accommodate a silencer or folding stock and having a magazine that can hold over 20 rounds. Non-U.S. citizens or residents can't buy, possess, or transport one. And the import, sale, and possession of a semi-automatic shotgun, commonly called a street sweeper, is banned. Now, here's what he says. Then I
Is that
want
of owning or carrying it?
the sale and possession of a semi-automatic shotgun, commonly called a street sweeper, is banned.
What?
So a
come they
semi-automatic,
ban that?
so a semi-automatic shotgun is like the bird gun that Dad has. You just keep pulling
Yeah.
the trigger, or the ones that have a clip and you have high cap mags for shotguns. And it says, how could these laws change?
That
All right.
undermines the constitutional right.
So the failed legislation that Northam proposed over the summer will be proposed again. There are no real surprises, said Brian Moran, Virginia's Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security. We'll roll them out probably prior to session. This package would ban assault weapons, silencers, high-capacity magazines, and other dangerous weapons. All weapons are dangerous. There are a lot of people killed by hammers.
More people are killed by fists than any other weapon in the
Absolutely.
United States. I think that's even a worldwide statistic.
It says it requires background checks on all firearm transactions, reinstate the law repealed in 2012, allowing no more than one handgun purchase a month, which I think that's crap.
I take particular the street sweeper, okay? Per the Constitution, if there's a revolution, we may need to sweep the street, right? Isn't that the point? That is our constitutional right.
Defend
If
ourselves.
there's an army coming against us and they're in the street, we may need the street sweeper.
Okay,
and that's the point of it.
I want to catch up on our comments here real quick.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'd love for us to just go. I want to make sure we get to what the law's getting ready
Right.
to
Yeah, I
be
appreciate
changed
that.
are.
That's what I asked too, so I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.
Larry Melton says you should not be able to have a gun if you can't see. Well, he didn't have his glasses on that day. Obviously, if you literally can't see, if you're blind, you're not going to be buying a firearm because that would be pointless.
No, you'd have to get a shotgun,
Absolutely.
or you'd
A
need
street sweeper.
a fully automatic assault rifle.
Now,
Might
remember,
be better
folks,
for a blind
the views
person.
expressed on the show, I said it before, the views expressed on the show were not necessarily those of Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, and or its affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits.
Well, come on. How is a blind person supposed to defend themselves?
The dog.
I'm saying tank,
Just
fully
Strap
automatic.
a 50 cal on the back of a service animal.
They need. Look. They should. It should be government issue that blind people get a tank with a fully automatic. What is that? Motion censored machine gun.
Like
on
a
the top of
minigun?
it. Right.
Like a mini-
Anything that moves, it shoots.
Yeah. Larry says you should not be able to have a gun if you can't see. Jeremiah Uman says more people are killed by knives than guns. That's true. Jeremiah Umans says we don't have knife control. More people have been killed by drugs than a gun. That's very true. Jeremiah Uman says guns don't kill people. Don't kill people do. But the way he did it, it says guns don't kill people do. Pill pushing doctors kill people. Susan Burrows says drug dealers in white coats. That's what pill pushers, doctors are. Although they're very, very strict. Very, very strict on the prescribing those particular pain medicines now.
Good.
Jim Wanning says there is a price that we have to pay for a free society. Of course, we've had Jim on the show before, and his opinion on guns varies from ours.
They're very different.
But we still love each other.
I mean, it would be good to have him here now.
He's not anti-gun, but we'll just have him back on the show and we'll broach this subject again.
Yeah.
Sissy Brooks says more people in this world need to have or learn self-control. A seeing eye dog, Larry Melton says.
With a machine gun and a fully automatic machine gun and a motion detector.
Yeah. All right, so this package...
Something tells me you don't agree with my politics.
I'm just trying to move on to so we can find out what the laws that were repealed and what he's trying to do. Where were we at? Allowing no more than one handgun purchase a month. That I don't agree with. I passionately disagree with that. If you've got the money, you should be able to buy as many guns as you want.
You should be able to buy a tank.
You should be able to buy a tank or a helicopter with miniguns on it, because we should be able to equip ourselves against a tyrannical government if necessary.
In some ways, we are equipped, so long as the Constitution is still being taught.
Yeah.
And I think cursive handwriting, too, so that a person can acquire a copy and read it themselves, so that we don't have to be instructed on what is in it.
Well, a buddy of mine hands out
Because
little
that's where-
pamphlets that's got the entire U.S. Constitution.
And it's printed.
And it's printed.
Yeah, so I think those are important.
And you can buy those in bulk.
Because as long as our military and our police understand the Constitution and know what's in it, then I think we're probably in pretty good shape.
And I don't know what the
And
deal is
believe it and agree with it.
about silencers. I don't know what the big deal is about silencers. I mean, yeah, they're not. It doesn't. It's not like the movies. It doesn't make it go.
Do you think that's some of the gap that we were talking about? So the blue and the red. So the red is basically the field of the United States, and then the blue is the cities, basically the bigger cities. And that is part of what we're experiencing with social media. When you're in a building that has, say, 2,000 people in it, if 1 in 2,000 people is getting shot, somebody in your building got shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas out here,
It's 8:42. We go ahead.
in our part of the world, it's different. You know, it's different that way.
Okay, and here's where it starts to get really dicey. This is where a lot of people are getting frustrated. Well, first of all, it says this is. I already talked about allowing no more than one handgun purchase a month. That was a law that was repealed in 2012. And the next one is allow municipalities to enact ordinances that are stricter than state law. Among the examples they cite, rules banning guns in libraries or municipal buildings. Next, require lost or stolen guns to be reported to authorities within 1 day. I agree with that. I mean, that's logical. I mean,
well, then that has to do with, here's the problem with that. Where do you register the gun so that the serial number is known to somebody who, because if you got robbed, suppose it's because they robbed your house and they took everything.
right,
Where's your record about the firearm and it's
right.
suppose suppose your house burns down. Where's the record of what the firearms identifying marks are? If you don't have that, how do you report it?
Right.
Right, and then what are the questions going to be?
Well, you can still report it. You just don't. See, we have an issue with a friend of ours who had his gun stolen. He's getting it back, but the issue is he kept the gun and the paperwork with the serial numbers and all that stuff together, and the bag itself was stolen with all the paperwork.
And he's still able to report it.
Yeah. Oh, he did report it, and he'll be getting his gun back. They got it. Anyways, moving on. Require loss or something. Allow law enforcement, and this is where a lot of people are really getting upset. And I know you're going to have a lot to say about this one.
I'm still on required to report this lawsuit because reporting a gun stolen is what is a report? The government decides what a report is.
Right.
So if you have to report it within a day, but you don't have the number, and they say, well, the number's required. Now you're in violation of the law.
Okay, we're going to have to move on to this one because you're going to have a lot to say about this one, and we're running short on time. Allow law enforcement to temporarily separate a person from firearms if the person exhibits dangerous behavior that presents an immediate threat to self or others. Okay, so I think that's being misconstrued a lot of places. And okay, so moving on, it says to prohibit the subjects of protective orders from possessing guns. Toughen punishment for allowing access of a loaded unsecured
you moving on to more of them?
Well,
you just skipped right over that one, right?
Well, no, because that one we'll talk more about it here because we're gonna have to talk about this on Monday. Too.
Nah, we'll move on to something
because
else.
I want to make sure that we see exactly what's going on.
I also want to say this: there are a lot of people who do not believe in guns or weapons and don't carry them. The best thing they have to defend themselves is a kitchen knife, and it's in the kitchen drawer.
And that's
right?
way more. Yeah, that's.
And there are millions of them, probably tens of millions of them, and none of them have ever been harmed by a criminal.
Right.
So that's a perspective that I think a lot of this stuff comes from.
I think if there's an immediate threat to self or others, that gives.
Define that.
Exactly. That gives. Well, this is just a summary version of what's going on. This is because we can't get it all covered in an hour.
Well, these things need to be covered in detail.
Yeah.
What is a threat to self or others?
So we might, I'll pay more attention to this story also over the weekend, and Monday we'll tackle this topic again. Prohibit the subjects of protective orders or, what do they call those? Order of protection. What do they call those? What's the other word for those? Restraining order.
I think that if you have a gun and you're going to use it unlawfully to harm somebody else, there should be a law that you have to actually give that gun to the person that you're going to harm with it before you use it.
Okay, so
That should be a law.
says so far the NRA has
Don't
made.
you think?
Yeah, say that again.
If you have a firearm and you're going to unlawfully use it to harm somebody, the law should be that you have to give that gun to that person before you use it on them. That should be the law.
Vote for Jay for governor of Virginia.
My point is that they're not going to obey that law. It doesn't make sense.
It says also one of them is to toughen punishment for allowing access of a loaded, unsecured firearm to someone 18 or younger. I think, Dad taught me how to shoot and how to be safe with a gun when I was 14.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think if more people taught their children proper gun care, maintenance, and use, it would be better. So,
Yeah.
so it says so far the NRA is maintaining its familiar hardline, contending that the proposal would violate the Second Amendment. Moran, however, said that the laws would meet all the Supreme Court has provided in terms of the Second Amendment.
Those laws would?
We have the case
None of those
law
laws
to
meet
support our position, he said. Now, another question, would owners have to give up their weapons? It depends on who you ask. According to the NRA, the new laws would make millions of Virginians a felon overnight, said DJ Spiker.
Look, part of the problem with these things being ruled on, even by the Supreme Court, is that they are a branch of the government. An oppressive government, a tyrannical government, is going to have the Supreme Court on their side. So when they rule on these things, if the government is already tyrannical, they feel themselves at risk. They are part of the government. They're going to rule in their own favor.
Now, here's what's really going to irritate you. Okay, it says, okay, so he said, I am not going to lock up a large part of Virginia, he said. To that point, a Northam spokeswoman, Elena Yarmosky, also told the Mercury that the governor would include a grandfather clause allowing owners to keep their assault weapons with the requirement that they register the weapons before the end of the designated grace period. That's crap.
And so none of these, okay, so none of these laws are felony laws, right? Because they're not federal.
The NRA says registration is the first step to confiscation.
So listen, but here's another thing too, is that the prison system's been privatized. If you have a company that wants to grow and meet the demands that are being made by its investors, you need more people in prison.
Sorry, I'm reading ahead. Question. How would local Second Amendment sanctuaries fit the context of tighter statewide gun laws? Such declarations have been sprouting up recently around the Commonwealth. Over 100 counties, towns, and cities in Virginia have adopted such resolutions to not enforce any unconstitutional gun laws, according to the Virginia Citizens Defense League, a gun rights organization. Closer to D.C., that includes...
I don't think the medication thing is either good. If a person says, hey, I have a problem, I'm seeing a doctor, and so I'm medicated for it,
Right.
that means there's a person who is self-aware that they have a problem and they're going to get help for it. They've made a decision to do the right thing and to correct themselves. And even what is a threat to themselves? What is a threat to themselves or others? This should be a threat of physical harm. And that should be defined in the actual verbal description of what the intention is. Otherwise, people can start going around pointing fingers at people, saying they're a harm, and any way you react is evidence.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to pause on this. If you want to read the entire story, just...
I interrupted too much. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, well, I figured that was going to happen. We got a lot further than I thought we would.
And thank you, because you did what I asked. I mean, we looked at the legislation, and that's really
well,
where
and there's still more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still lots more about this situation.
Sounds like there's already more than enough.
I am going to do some more research on this over the weekend, and we're going to tackle this subject again on Monday.
Right.
Because this is something that everybody is talking about. Everybody is talking about. It talks about how would these laws address the issue of ghost guns, guns that aren't registered to somebody who's carrying them.
How about guns in the hands of people that are actually going to hurt innocent people?
It's for the ones that such weapons are assembled from purchased pieces or kits. They don't require background checks to buy and are untraceable. As such, they're being used more by criminals. Okay.
Ooh,
well,
that needs to be illegal.
any kind of, yeah, you can piece together guns, but if you try to buy the upper, I think it's the upper or the lower, whichever one has the barrel and the hardware on it, you have to have somebody with an FFL or a permit to sell, a dealer license to sell, in order to get it. And you have to do a background check in most cases to even get the action parts of the gun, the guns that make it, or the parts that make it go boom, you know. So this is, I mean, this is, I'm going to do more research on this, and we're going to come at you on Monday with a lot more, and we'll probably, and if we don't have someone coming to sit in place of Dennis and Becky, we might go on to a second hour, because this is something that everybody is talking about. And quite frankly, I like talking about this more than I do the crap that's going on in Washington.
Well,
I mean, it all needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
So Larry Melton says, before you use a gun, you have to load it. That's true. Curtis Prince says, good morning. Good morning, Curtis Prince. So it's time for us to get out of here already.
Yeah.
Remember, everybody, today's show is brought to you by naturalsolutionstore.bz. Go online, check it out. It's a really great place. It's got so much stuff on there. Aronia, which helps with diabetes. CoQ10, which helps with your body needs that to help with cell regeneration and cell repair and maintenance. So go online, check it out, naturalsolutionstore.bz. That being said, man, Dr. Paul and Nancy are here early today. They were making sure they didn't have to skate in on ice skates.
Is it icy yet out there? No.
Not yet. It's windy. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the Morning Drive today. Thank you, everybody that commented. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same channel. Be sure and tune in next for the Basics of Faith with Marty Hamilton, or as I like to call him, Dr. M. And then after that, following him will be Dr. Paul and Nancy with the Happy Hour. Tune in for Dr. Paul's awesome rhyming skills. So until then, my friends, God bless you and keep you. We love you. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
And this has been The Morning Drive. It's nothing short of a miracle.